They make up nearly 40% of Australia's total cattle herd, but traditionally, Angus have been a breed synonymous with the southern parts of Australia. These days, though, there is a very firm push on Angus for the north. I'm joined by CEO of Angus Australia, Scott Wright, and Queensland producer Roger Botthammer. Scott, as CEO, can you explain this notion of the breed for every system?
Exactly. We actually make up 49% of the cow herd in Australia now, are Angus influenced, and probably over the last 10 years we've seen a real reach into those central Queensland, northern Queensland, and the centre of Australia, primarily for good reasons of carcass quality and marketability of cattle.
Well, an example of that is, of course, your operation, Roger Botthammer. Tell us about where you're based and your property.
We're based at Chinchilla. On the Darling Downs, Northern Downs they call it. So that's where we're based. Our bulls go all over Queensland, throw a handful of rice at Queensland and that's where our bulls end up. We've got them down at Cunnamulla, we've got them over on the coast at Serena, and they're out around Camberwell. And we have had bulls go to the Territory in the past. And they, people out around Cameron's Corner use British blood cattle because they can finish in a short season, whereas the later maturing type cattle don't make it every time. So they have Angus in their program. It'll be a mix, but yeah.
I'm curious to know, you're one of the early movers in that space 50 years ago, albeit, where you moved into the Angus Australia world.
Geez, I was young.
4 years old.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, about that. Why did you make that decision? I mean, they were cattle considered suitable for those southern climates.
At that time, all my mates said, "What do you want them for? Those horrible little things. They kick, they bite, they strike." They were all Hereford or Senator guys, all my mates back then. And my uncle started off. He had Herefords, then he switched to Angus, and just the extra money he was getting out of those Angus cross. And then he swung into purebred and bought some stud cows, and then I sort of followed suit there.
What was the attraction for you?
Well, my father was a builder, and you can probably drive a cow down the road with a hammer, but you can't drive a nail with a horse. And that was where my passion was, I suppose, back in those days. And so Angus. And yeah, Jack kept me fairly restricted on numbers for a long time, but I've managed to creep them up a bit. And in '89, I think we had about 30 cows. We joined 650 now. And we've acquired a bit of country along the way. I grew rock melons for 30 years to fund this deal. So I had to go a lot of things.
Absolutely has paid off now. The move of the Angus breed into the north, Scott, it's purposeful. It's something you're promoting into the future. Tell us what's happening with Angus Australia in this space. Yeah,
it's been a long-term program for the board of Angus Australia, really, to reach into those new areas. And we've got staff based in Queensland now, which is great, Gundawindi and in June. We've got a very extensive program. We've got a Northern Development Committee, which are a group of breeders that are committed to the north and the northern cattle industry. So, yeah, very purposeful from our board and the management.
And Roger, is it the case that the cattle need to be toughened up to thrive up in these conditions?
Our herd has evolved under the conditions we run them under, I suppose, over the years. Like if a cow didn't get it in calf, she became a burger. Sacred cows make pretty good burgers. So I guess there's a bit of bred-in toughness because that's the regime we've run them under. And yeah, we've had almost 200 bulls go to one client at Camberwell now over the last 6 years.
I'm curious to know, over that sort of 50 years you've been involved, there's some inflection points that must be quite significant for the breed. What would you reflect on those to be?
Oh, well, back in 74, they were little, and they were cranky little buggers. Some bloodlines. And they weren't, but at the time, talking to those mates, I said, no, but there are bigger Angus cattle about. So I set off on a journey of getting a bit more size in my cattle to what was customary thought of. It's been a long road, like that was 74, we move along to 81, there was the import of semen and bulls from the US. That was a turning point there, and mate and I went to America in 89, and we were fairly naive young travellers then, but we got around and so went to pretty much every place we wanted to get to. And we saw bulls that barely look over, they were so big. But then we moved on from that, and we moved into a period now where I think we got a pretty marketable product. They got a bit of shape about them, they're not extreme size. The cows live, and that's the big thing is like Paraguay are wanting bulls to produce females. They had a very mixed crossbred herd at Rocklands, and they've put Angus bulls in and Santa bulls and crisscrossing, and yeah, they've turned that licorice all sort herd into red or black and a bit of a intermingling in between. So yeah, the breed has come a long way in those 50 years.
It absolutely has, and next year you get to celebrate all of the advances in the breed and look to the future when the world turns its attention for the Angus industry on Australia. Scott, what's happening next year?
Yeah, it's a big event for us. It's been 25 years since we've had the World Angus Forum in Australia. We've got 26 Angus producing countries, 1,000 delegates. We've got a week from Sydney up to Tamworth for a live cattle exhibition, finishing at Southbank in Brisbane, and then a Western Queensland tour the week following. So big opportunity to showcase Angus genetics for export around the world, really.
Such a dominant breed, so much achieved. What's the next horizon?
I think, last year we entered into the World Angus evaluation. So for the first time, our cattle can be compared with the North American population. And we really see that export opportunities for Australian genetics are really an opportunity for our breeders going forward. We'll continue to expand the market in Australia, but really we see it now internationally in scope.
Scott Wright, Roger Botthammer, thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Fantastic to learn about the Angus breed and the future of such a big part of the Australian cattle industry.